So there's this thing that happens when you hear a group of vocalists sing really well. If you pay really close attention, you can hear a note that isn't actually being sung. Now yes, I could spend several days of my life trying to create a multi-track a cappella arrangement of a few notes to replicate this phenomena, but these guys do it way better, and I'll just link their video in the description below. So what's happening is that your brain is taking two notes and adding a third note that no one is actually singing. Yes, you heard me correctly. Your brain is making you hallucinate a note that none of the performers are singing. Vocalists call these notes overtones, but that's because vocalists are stupid and abandon you a week before your senior recital and force you to rearrange a 10-minute 3-movement choral piece for flute octet and then spend 8 hours recording it with 2 flute players that you had to bribe, only to then have to mix and master it the night before your recital. Anyway, these aren't overtones. That's a different video for a different time. These are actually called combination tones, and they're a psychoacoustic phenomenon. Now, don't get too excited. Psychoacoustic phenomenon is just the audio version of an optical illusion. Why they couldn't call it something like an auditory illusion is beyond me, but it was probably to help those academic musicians feel better about themselves. Anyway, it all comes down to how your brain likes to complete patterns. So all sound is measured in something called Hertz, which is cycles per second. If I've lost you, look it up. I'm not a physicist, I'm a neck-beardy musician. There are boundaries that must be kept in the lands of nerddom. Anyway, so if I have a note that's 220 Hertz and another note that's 330 Hertz, your brain is going to produce notes that are both the sum and difference of these two notes. So you'll end up hearing the sum tone at 550 Hertz and a difference tone at 110 Hertz. And remember, these are notes that your brain is creating. This isn't some type of bizarre interference in the performance hall. The caveat of this is that intonation is incredibly important. If you're a little out of tune, say 111 Hertz instead of 110 Hertz, the whole system collapses and you won't hear any imaginary notes. And this is actually a critical aspect of judging performers, especially vocalists. This is literally the difference between a good and a bad barbershop quartet. If they're good, it should sound like there's about 6 or 7 guys on stage. This is kind of one of those tricks that a lot of people don't recognize. So when you're in a concert sitting next to a music major and they're just sitting there shaking their head looking all pretentious, they're actually trying to listen for notes that aren't being sung. How's that for some Zen ninja master voodoo shit? And this isn't some massive secret either. A violinist called Giuseppe Tartini was accredited with discovering this phenomenon back in the 18th century. And for the longest time, these were actually called Tartini tones. Anyway, this is actually how most speakers work nowadays. And we're back to physics. Okay, so large things make low sounds and small things make high sounds. That's just how the universe works. I don't have any control over it. And if you don't like it, you can take your complaints.
And I'm gonna need you to put them way up inside your butthole, Morty.
In my butt?
Put them way up inside there as far as they can fit.
Anyway, so if you're trying to listen to your sick beats through your shitty little earbud headphones, your headphones are actually trying to create a difference tone, or a combination of higher notes to make you think you're hearing a lower sound, because your earbuds are literally not big enough to make a sound that low. Experts in this field call this the missing fundamental. So the next time you're having a debate with some asshole who spent like several grand on a sound system, listen to him, because his speakers are going to be playing notes that up to this point you've only been hallucinating. Well, okay, it's not really hallucinating, but yeah, no, it's basically hallucinating. Okay, so now we get to the magic of music. So for those of you really interested in the musical math behind this, check out the Wikipedia article on the harmonic series. Anyway, based on how we use music and musical notation, we can predict and create these combination tones just by looking at the distance between two notes. In music, the distance between two notes is called an interval. So I can look at a piece of music and see an interval of a perfect fifth. If there is a perfect fifth, I know that it's going to produce a sum tone that is a major third above the top note and a difference tone that is an octave below the bottom note. For those of you familiar with the harmonic series, this should look very familiar. And if I've lost you, don't worry, that was just for the music nerds. Now, I used the interval of a perfect fifth on purpose, because a perfect fifth is a particularly special interval with a lot of history behind it. You see, a perfect fifth, or the distance between these two notes, was most commonly used in a very specific type of music called Gregorian Chant. Gregorian Chant was created by Pope Gregory I sometime just before 600 AD. And the story goes that the Holy Spirit came down in the form of a dove and whispered all these songs into his ear. Anyway, this was the type of music sung by monks in monasteries and churches and cathedrals throughout the medieval period. Now, when I say the monks singing songs, I don't mean they got together and hummed whatever was popular. These guys sung incredibly structured songs all day, every day. And these songs were filled with perfect fifths, which were musical structures that were perfect for creating combination tones. Now, I haven't been able to find any documented evidence of this, but with all that singing in practice and songs that were filled with structures perfect for combination tones, those monks must have been able to sing well enough to produce those imaginary notes. And when they did, they probably thought God himself had descended from the heavens to sing with them, as if they had evoked the voice of God.